Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Smart Solutions for Udder Health webinar. My name is Abby Bauer. I'm an editor for Hordes Dairyman magazine and will serve as today's moderator. This event is brought to you by GIA Farm Technologies, and we are proud to partner with them on this webinar. It's no surprise that rising input costs have made dairying today even more challenging. Climbing iodine and freight costs have impacted teat dip prices, and the need for labor efficiency drives us to seek more effective solutions. Today, we'll learn more about solutions to bring savings to your farm to boost productivity and maintain milk quality. This presentation will be followed by an opportunity to answer questions. So if you have a question to ask, please type it into the question section of the GoToWebinar control panel, and we will address those later on. Joining us today are two experts, Keith Engel and Mark Heald from GIA Farm Technologies, who specialize in udder health solutions. Keith and Mark will walk us through what they're seeing in the marketplace, explain how they're helping farms find practical solutions, and share real-world results. Thank you for joining us, Keith and Mark.
Thanks, Abby.
Thanks for having us.
I'm Keith Engel with GIA Farm Technologies. I've been with GIA for 23 years. It's been an honor working with dairy farms, our dealers, and all of our people at GIA, and the many wonderful industry people. I'm a business development manager for hygiene, which means I have the honor of working with our entire staff in the field, helping optimize milk quality and get the best solutions for your farms. Mark?
I'm Mark Heald. I have been with GIA going on my 9th year. In total, about 14 years working with dairy hygiene at both the dealer and now at the manufacturer level. So today,
Go ahead.
we're going to go over some of the marketplace changes that have been affecting you and your dairy farms. We're going to highlight some new concentrated dips, talk about some different technologies that we have to offer for potential labor savings on your farm, and how those solutions will fit your farm.
So the marketplace has changed a lot, as we've all seen this last year or two. What is your view of the marketplace? All of us have seen these changes from availability of items to cost. So let's go ahead and start out with a poll to get your opinion. Abby?
So for everyone who's out there listening, this is your opportunity to chime in with your opinion. And what we want to know right now is what has contributed to the most significant cost increases? Please select one of the following. Is it teat dip ingredients, packaging costs, freight and fuel, or labor? If you'll choose one of those answers, and we'll let the poll run here for just a moment. And now we'll close down the poll and wait for those answers to pop up. All right, so Mark and Keith, I'll let you know that freight and fuel was first at 41%. So I apologize. First freight and fuel, then labor, then teat dip ingredients.
Well, thank you everybody for your opinion on that. It's very valuable in our market that we listen. So with that, let's talk about what's changed. Iodine has risen over 80% in the last year. What you're seeing in the chart there, actually in the picture, that's raw pearl iodine. That's how it comes before we manufacture it, process it, and make it into the teat dips you use. You see that first bar graph, actually the majority of the world's iodine comes from Chile. And second, Japan. A very minute amount actually comes to the United States, and it's actually controlled by very few parties. And that has risen up substantially. As far as looking at what else has changed, glycerin that goes into our teat dips has gone up over 4 times, propylene glycol 3 times, and the bleach, the chlorine that goes into your detergents and all your sanitizers has gone up greater than 50%. So we've had a lot of change in the market. We've also, and you mentioned freight, packaging costs have more than doubled, labor costs and finding qualified labor, and then the freight and fuel has gone through the roof. Now, this is the lowest point you'll hear in our whole webinar here. So hopefully we got some solutions for you. So when we're talking about our teat dips, we know it's hard to stray away from what you know and love and you know that it works. The one thing Mark and I want to talk to you about is, did you know you can get teat dips that perform equal or better to iodine at less cost? The picture in there is actually of our Velocity Gold barrier, and that's not a Photoshop picture. That's how it looked with a farm with nice udder lights on it. So our goal at GIA is to deliver performance with proven efficacy. Over 23 years ago, when I started at GIA, my first class, my first training, I was taught this, and it stuck with me because I'm a cow guy, I'm a milk quality guy. A germicide in a dip alone does not make an effective teat dip. Formulas that pass efficacy testing, field testing, and perform in the field make an effective teat dip. So with that, I'm going to have Mark tell us about how we bring a new product to market today.
So it's not a quick process. We take our time to ensure everything is ready before we release it to the market. So when we come up with an initial concept for a product, we take data from the field. We have to make sure that there's a market requirement and need for that product to fill a void, and then finalize whatever the desired characteristics, germicides, emollient levels of that product are going to be. Then we start screening different formulas. Any new product, we have anywhere from 2 to 50 formulas that we'll examine. We look at things like product stability for multiple weeks, efficacy of the product with challenge testing, and validate the characteristics are met. From there, we go to stability testing. We do high and low temperatures, freeze-thaw stability, 3 cycles, up to 3 cycles of freeze-thaw stability, and then real-time at room temperature, just to make sure that we have a shelf-stable product. Then we go into the final formula efficacy. We do another challenge test again on the final formulation, and then we send the product for testing to make sure that it's endured the stability testing over a several-week period, and then begins production testing. So we have to make sure that the formula will work in real-life production scenarios and quantities and able to be lab tested for accuracy. That whole process from start to finish, if there weren't any hiccups along the way and we didn't have to go back to the drawing board, would be at minimum, would you say a year, Keith?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to highlight a little bit. I mentioned challenge testing. Standard testing for pre-dip and post-dip, there's a standard requirement, and that standard is a 30-second contact time with bacterial challenge. We take it a step further and do a 15-second contact time. So on pre-dip, we're looking for predominantly E. coli, Klebsiella, Strep ubris, Strep ag, Staph aureus, and Strep disgalacti. With the post-dip, our contact time is a little longer. We do a 5-minute contact time, that's the standard, and under a standard milk soil load test. Our challenge test that we perform, we do a 5-minute contact time at 2.5 times the normal standard soil load test. And in that test, we're predominantly looking at trying to kill E. coli, Strep ag, and Staph aureus, contagious mastitis organisms that you'd be trying to fight with a post-dip on your own farms. Once we've passed all of those testings that I highlighted earlier, then we do on-farm testing and validation. So it's an 8 to 12 week trial on a farm, 2-time-a-week visits in the first few weeks, 1 visit a week after that for the remainder of the trial. We look at teat skin condition scoring, teat end condition scoring, and milk quality numbers. We validate teat dip coverage, milking procedures, weather conditions, overall environment, and again, checking milk quality data before and during the test, because it's important to keep score. Otherwise, you won't know if you won or lost. And then we have a test summary. So we're in constant communication all the time during these trials with the dealer and the dairy. We update the R&D team throughout the test on any changes that may need to be made, look at any issues and identify any issues early on in the process, look for feedback from all the parties involved, both at the farm and from the dealers. And then we write a test summary in conclusion. And when our new product passes all of those different tests, then we're finally ready to go to market. But at any point in this process, if a product fails, we go back to the drawing board and we start over.
All right, now that we know what Gia looks for in a teat dip, we'd like to ask you what you are looking for in a teat dip product. So please select one of the following. You're looking for an economical product, a dip that addresses environmental issues, or something that you can use both pre and post dip. So please pick one of the following. We have good participation from our audience. We are going to close the poll now. And it looks like about half of our audience is looking for a teat dip that addresses environmental issues. Almost another half was looking for a product they can use for pre and post dipping, and then 5% wanted to find something that's economical.
Well, thank you, everybody. So as far as looking at teat dips, we're literally looking for smart solutions for udder health. Listening to the market, testing it for efficacy. And when we do this, we have proven cost-effective solutions for your farm. Now with the market of iodine and also with transportation costs and that, we've really focused on our new products on having effective non-iodine teat dip options. In the first column, we're pre-dip only, very economical but effective teat dips. We have OxyPower that we're going to talk about. That's 1% hydrogen peroxide concentrate. We got Velocity Pre, we've had out for a number of years. That's widely popular, pre-only chlorine dioxide concentrate. And if you're looking for the same teat dip pre and post non-iodine, try to get some efficacy compared to iodine, but also use the same product both ways. We have Velocity and Velocity Plus Gold, Tempo, new innovative product called Command. And if you got some environmental challenges that are against your control, like rainy weather and humidity and other things, we have Velocity Gold Barrier. So talking about the first product, OxyPower, HPC, it's a pre-milking only pre-dip. We really focused on to make sure that when we did all of our teat dip testing, that there was a lot of people on the market that had used iodine for 10, 20, 30 years, and it worked for them. So we really focused not just on efficacy of the product itself, but also efficacy compared to an iodine teat dip. What you see in the bar graph on the right, you see OxyPower. On the left, you actually see a 0.5% iodine, 2% emollient. And our standard at GIA is we want at least a 5-log kill. And a 5-log kill equals 99.999, 5 nines of kill. And that's our minimum standard. So as you can see in the graph, this is a definite effective option that we challenge tested at 15 seconds, and it's very economical. Mark?
So I'm going to talk about Velocity Tempo. So Velocity Tempo is a 4-part dip that you can use all year round. You can adjust the level of emollient depending on your farm specific needs. 1,000 parts per million chlorine dioxide germicide, but the thing to remember is it's not chlorine dioxide alone. This is actually a dual germicide. It's chlorine dioxide and chlorous acid. It's versatile blending. You can use an automated system to blend it, or it could be blended by hand if need be. Special formulation with surfactants make this an excellent cleaning teat dip. It has color in it, so you have positive visual verification of properly dipped cows, and can be used in a spray, dip, or foam application.
Next, we have Velocity Plus and Velocity Plus Gold. We put these two products together because they are what we call sister products. They are a triple germicide product that is a chlorine dioxide, DDBSA, and lactate for a very effective kill with some special surfactants, so we get a complete kill against the widest range of environmental organisms at the highest challenge load. So what you see here is looking at a pre-dip compared to Velocity Plus Gold. An iodine pre-dip, 0.5%, iodine 2% emollient. We were well over a 5-log kill. And as we go to looking at as a post-dip against a 1% iodine, 10% emollient, we are definitely over that 5-log, both on E. coli and also contagious organisms that we want to take care of on post-dipping, like Streptococcus galactae and Staph aureus. Velocity Plus is the green product you see in the top picture to the right. Both Velocity Plus and Plus Gold are concentrates that we have an activator, base, and emollient. What this allows you to do is on your farm, customize the blend to be 800,000 or 1200 ppm with chlorine dioxide, along with the other two germicides, so that when you get higher challenges, that you can make adjustments, but also we can adjust the emollient to find the perfect spot between conditioning and cost, and be at emollient levels from 1%, 5%, 10%, or even 15% when we're preparing for harsher weather, like in cold weather. You can dip, spray, or foam as a post dip. It's an excellent skin conditioner and exfoliator, vibrant green color, proven effective. Then you get to the Velocity Plus Gold, which pictures to the right. We have the same kind of efficacy, as you can see, as a pre or a post. It has all the great qualities found in Velocity Plus. There are a few differences. The color is one, but we also have a lower viscosity for a wide range of use. Everyone that knows me know I've always loved our TEAT 10.3 product, and I still do today. It's 1% iodine, 10% emollient. But with the cost and stuff like that, Velocity Plus and Plus Gold has been a great alternative with excellent performance. Mark?
Yep, the next one in our lineup was the post-dip only that we have, Velocity Gold Barrier. So this is a 1,000 part per million chlorine dioxide with 12% emollients. It's a low drip barrier. You get that extra protection between milkings for added protection in wet or less than ideal farm conditions. Bright yellow, so you get a good visible confirmation of properly dipped teats. This is a mixed product also, but it's an easy 1-to-1 dilution, 50-50 mix. So 2 55-gallon drums yield 110 gallons of ready-to-use post-dip. If you look at the chart, this goes up against a 110 iodine. And the two different colors, the orange and the blue, show 1 hour post-mixing and then 24 hours post-mixing. So you can see even after 24 full hours of mix, the product is still stable enough to achieve over a 5-lug kill. And compared to a 1% iodine, perform just as well, if not better. This has been a great product in my market. There's a lot of barrier use in this region because we have cold winters and hot summers and wet springs. So sometimes keeping dry barn conditions can be a bit of a challenge.
Next product we're going to talk about, I'm really excited about, is Command. It's both a pre and a post non-iodine teat dip. It is from concentrate, 1-to-9 solution. So that means if you buy a 15, it'll make 150 gallons. If you make a 55, it will make 550. If you buy a 250-gallon total, it'll make 2,500 gallons. But the exciting part to me, besides about being concentrated, is its efficacy. This product is not a chlorine dioxide. It's actually 0.45% lactic acid with some special surfactants to give it, and lactic acid to give it an incredible kill rate. If you see the graph on the top, you got against a 0.5%, 2% iodine, and it was over a 5-log kill, and versus a 110 iodine. Excellent results with over 5. And this was against the challenge test at 2.5 times the normal challenge. The nice part about this too is the shelf life is 30 days after mixing. So if you don't want to have to mix daily on like some products, you could actually mix up a month's worth, or your dealer could do it for you. I'm super excited about it. It looks great. The picture to the right is actually a picture dipped on my cow, actually. So I think there's a lot of great possibilities of this being a solution for people. Mark, tell us a little bit more about Command on one of your experiences.
Yeah, so I was approached by the R&D department in December of last year. They wanted to try this on a robotic milking install. So there's a 5-robot farm in Pennsylvania, Skull Hill Dairy. About 300 to 340 cows, very well managed farm. It's a split barn, so there's 3 boxes on one side and 2 boxes on the other. So it made it perfect for a trial. So the farm had been post dipping with TEAT 10.3 AMS, which if anybody on the call doesn't know what TEAT 10.3 is, it would be a 1% iodine with 10% 3-way emollient package in it. So we took the side of the barn with 3 robots and switched them over to Command, and then did a comparison on milk quality and skin condition between the two sides, the existing iodine and the new command. We started this trial the week before Christmas. If anybody remembers what happened temperature-wise the week before Christmas, we had a deep freeze in about 8 hours where we dropped about 50 degrees. Went back up 50 degrees a few days later, and then had roughly an inch to an inch and a half of rain in the following week. So as far as a challenge test goes on skin condition with the changing temperature and air conditions, and for a bacteria control with the increased moisture level, we couldn't have picked a better or worse time, I guess, depending on how you look at it. So happy to say over that 3-month time, we saw no increase on new clinical cases or bulk tank somatic cell. No increase in clinical cases from the command side of the barn to the existing iodine side of the barn. No change in teat condition from one side to the other either. And within the last few months, the farm has actually switched all of their robots over to command and installed a pump to be able to blend out of 155, like Keith alluded to, 550 gallons of dip. So it's a big saver for not only the dairy on space, but also the dealership from having to make less deliveries in a month's time. And it doesn't clog up the back rooms as much.
Thank you for sharing that, Mark.
Yep.
So talking about the power of concentrates, we've got fewer deliveries. You got less traffic and interruptions for your daily routine on your farm. Smaller footprint, as Mark talked about, on cleaner workspace to maintain efficiency. We also get that blending adjustability. So we can adjust the strength both in germicide and emollient levels to meet your needs. And then less packaging. Diluting on farm, you get cost savings. And it's also more environmentally friendly. And again, when we talk about transporting things by the pound, it definitely saves on that as well. So let's go through an example talking about concentrates with fewer deliveries and less overhead. Here's an example. A farm using an iodine teat dip, our T code 10.3, 1% iodine, 10% emollient, versus a concentrate like we talked about with Velocity Plus. If we have a dairy using 50 gallons of teat dip a day, that'd be about a 3,000 cow dairy using spraying and using 20 mils per cow. That'd be 18,250 gallons a year, or 73 totes. It's 159,009 pounds. Logistics and shipping costs, no warehousing or anything else, that's about 8 cents a pound just to get it to the farm. So that'd be about 12,720 that would have to be added to that to get it to the farm. We start looking at Velocity Plus using 50 gallons, same amount of dip, 1,000 ppm, chlorine dioxide, and 10% emollient. That would be, you're going to have base 7.45 totes, 6, 8, 9 of activator, and about 5.5 of emollient. So that gets down to just under to about 20 totes a year, or 45,000 pounds. So at 8 cents a pound, that's about $3,640.32. So when you do the math on that, just in one example on one farm, just on the transportation side, that's over a $9,000 savings. So getting rid of some of that overhead, fighting all that overhead that we've all been working with, is an excellent solution. With that, we'll have Abby do another poll question.
Thank you, Keith. Following up with that conversation about concentrate teat dips, we want to ask you, what would keep you from switching to a concentrated teat dip solution? Please pick one of the following. We're looking for storage space, happy with current products, haven't penciled it out, or didn't want to mix the products. So if you could pick one of those answers. Also want to remind you, if you have any questions for our speakers, please put those into the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel, and we will answer those following the presentation. We'll close the poll. And the answer here, just over half people said they weren't interested in mixing a product, 32% haven't penciled it out yet, 14% are happy with their current product. All right, Mark and Keith, I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks, Abby. So who should consider concentrates? How do you know if they're right for you? On-farm blending solutions provide flexibility while saving cost. Our company, working with our dealer network, has a program to work with your farm on that. Smart blending systems designed to fit your farm's needs. Mixed teat dip products on demand, so you can have fresh product, flexibility, formulations, whether it's weather changes, udder health, teat conditioning. And really the goal is that we've got factory quality products made on your farm. We have customized blending designed to fit your herd and teat dip needs, many formulations available with different germicides. And we offer something for herds of just about any herd size. So talking about technologies for labor savings. Partial automation technologies can address labor challenges, deliver consistency and efficiency, and can be incorporated in existing facilities regardless of the brand of your milking parlor. Now, talking about the first one of these partial automations is the Future Cow Prep System. I've had an honor of working with this product for over 10 years with producers across the United States and Canada. What you can do with this is actually get multiple procedures done in one step and streamline prep. Plus, it gives you greater consistency on cleaning that all-important, most important piece of real estate on your farm, the teat end, which also leads to better teat end health. We've got this on farms today at GIA, on anywhere from a 50 cow farm to over 9,000 cows and everywhere in between. And it's been an excellent solution for people. Whether you have, we have them everything from a mobile cart for a stall barn to for parallels to rotary parlors. I'm talking about another piece of partial automation is step over spray systems. If automated teat sprayer you can put in the entry or the exit, can easily be installed in an existing parlor. They have fewer people needed in the parlor, plus get consistency. So this system's designed so that we can use it whether we want to go regular flow at 2 nozzles or high flow at 4. And also you can see in the video at one point between spraying cows, just did it right there, automatically sprays the nozzles to keep them clean. So it's definitely an option, a partial automation to streamline things at your farm. Then going to the rotary market, the largest parlor sales in the U.S. have gone to rotaries on larger farms. The udder mister is an excellent option where we can automatically pre or post step a cow and remove some labor. Very quick return on our ROI in most cases. We've got this available for smaller rotaries where it spins slower than 7 seconds to stall with a single arm system and a double arm system with the 2.0. We are showing in this video right now the Udder Mister 1.0, and there's quite a few of these out. Average dip usage is going to be less than a walkover, and it's been very accurate. Now here's the 2.0. You can take this on a faster rotary. We've gone down to 3.6 seconds per stall speed. It can do this because there's a dual arm on here on a servo table. When you watch the video here, you can see it's going to dip both those cows right now, both at once. I took this video myself actually at the end of a shift where I knew I'd have some empty stalls. Here's one coming up because I also want to show you the technology knows where the cow's at. You can see right there, we dipped the cow on the right, but we did not dip an empty stall so that we were not wasting money dipping nothing. And this is an excellent solution for partial automation. There's parlors out there that use this pre and post. There's a lot of parlors that use a Future Cow for pre and an Udder Mister for post. Now with that, we want to show you on the next slide, I want to show you a story of one of our dairy producers that has incorporated partial automation on his dairy. Go ahead and play the video on Double P Dairy.
When he purchased his parlor, one, he wanted to have good milk outs, but he also wanted to limit how much labor went into milking a cow. And two features on this parlor that really help that process are the Future Cow Teat Scrubber and the Udder Mister.
The process to guarantee a good clean of the teats, it is the Future Cow brush. When you press the trigger, it will come a solution and it will wash the teats with the action of the rotating of the brushes. Once you let go the trigger, it will be shooting air. The little brushes still rotating. With that action, it's helping us end up with a nice, dry, and clean teats.
The Udder Mister is a post-dipping system that actually eliminates a person on the backside of that parlor. Automatically dips the cows. It's not a several $100,000 piece of equipment, and it doesn't take up very much space. It's done quite a good job of keeping those cows dipped, and it's proved its worth in eliminating that extra labor.
Once the cows get milked out, the unit, it will come off in the arms, it will drop down. According to the sensors that they are putting on certain spots, it is telling the sprayer when is the right time, and it will spray once when it goes out, one more time when it's coming back. And that way, the result, it is that we have the teats very nice covered.
So there's a video on Double P Dairy, highly successful dairy, and is using this automation. And you can read more about it or hear more about it talking to one of our dealers.
So we have one more poll question for you. Thank you, Keith, for sharing that technology that's available through GIA. And following up that part of the presentation, we want to know from you what you're thinking about or considering for your dairy in the next 5 years. So please select one of the following. Are you interested in adding partial automation to your existing facilities? Optimizing existing facilities with new hygiene solutions such as teat dip or milking liners? Are you thinking about building a new conventional parlor and adding partial automation? Installing milking robots or a robotic parlor? Or you are content with your existing setup? If you could pick one of those answers, and at this time we will close up the poll and share the results. And looking at our audience, it looks like about half of the people that are listening today would be interested in optimizing their existing facilities with some new hygiene solutions. 22% are considering the installation of milking robots or a robotic parlor. 17% said they may add partial automation to their existing facilities. And then about 9% are content with their existing setup. Mark and Keith, I'll turn it back over to you to wrap things up.
Thanks, Abby.
Thanks, Abby.
So just to recap, we all know that we're facing marketplace challenges with rising fuel, trucking, and ingredient costs. We were forced to look at new technologies to stay competitive in the marketplace, just like you all have to do day to day. Concentrates and non-iodine teat tip options. With switching to concentrates and non-iodine based teat tips gives us more control over the supply and demand economics that impact all of us. So using concentrates allows GEA and your dealers to be more efficient and not have to truck water around the country, which then we're able to pass the savings on to you and your farms. And Keith told us about some great new technologies for labor savings. Labor is the most controllable expense in any business. And with some partial automation in your operation, you can significantly lower your labor costs as well. Whether it be environmental challenges, labor efficiencies, or outside economic forces, GEA and our network of expertly trained dealers have solutions to help you find the right solution for your operation.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark. So it's time to talk solutions. The market's changing. We need to do what's best for our farms and our business. So ask about product solutions. You can work with our dealer and our specialists as far as talking about what's best for you, get a quote, see how it can best be implemented. Another note on our teat dips, we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can work with our dealer network. You can contact GIA at www.giaea.com. What you see in the picture there is our dealer locations throughout the United States, and we can work with you. And with that, Mark and I really look forward to answering questions you may have.
Well, thank you both Keith and Mark for sharing that information about GIA and just how farms can maintain milk quality through different technologies and teat dip products. So really appreciate you sharing that information. We did have some questions that came in and we will answer those now. I first want to point out that if you look at the handout section in the GoToWebinar control panel, there are a few handouts you can print off. One of them is a copy of these presentation slides that we were sharing today. And then there are a few other product pieces available. So if you would like to grab any of those for future reference, feel free to click on those PDFs now and save them to your computer or print them out. All right, so let's get started on some questions. The first one here, it says, do you recommend applying a pre-dip before stripping the teats or after?
I'll take that one, Abby. In general, we recommend to dip before we strip. There has been studies done that showed no difference either way. Of course, there's a difference with that as far as keeping your gloves clean, that we don't infect the cow. In general, I like dipping and then stripping, but I have to admit I have customers successful doing it both, well both ways. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next question, what is the range of dip usage for the various partial automated options? So if you have some data you could share there.
Great question. Standard dipping of cows uses about 10-12 mils a cow dipping. Once we even go to a hand sprayer or regular handheld sprayer, I mean, that goes up 3 to 4 times depending on how much pressure they got behind it and they're spraying. When we go to the udder mister, that is traditionally used about 20 mils a dip per cow. When we go to walkover sprayers, that increases. Then you get up to about 35 to 40 mils per cow because the cow's moving and walking by as you're dipping, and we want to do a good job.
I think the important thing to keep in mind with automated spraying is we're not looking at that as a dip savings tool. We're looking at that as a labor savings tool. So the cost of the labor to have somebody stand there and spray far exceeds the increased mils of teat dip that automation is going to go through.
Mark's absolutely right. You got to calculate both, and you got to see what works there, and you also got to consider consistency. We're getting more and more. I mean, I know I grew up on our farm, and it was all family milking. I mean, we were all pretty consistent. As we needed to get more labor, regardless size of your farm, there gets to be some inconsistency, and especially the longer the shifts go by, or if you're milking 24 hours. So you got to kind of ask yourself, what's the consistency of something at 2 o'clock in the morning? So yeah, there are definitely some options, but consideration should be made.
All right, thank you for that insight. The next question, this person is wondering if your products are USDA organic compliant.
We do have products for organic farms with organic certification. It needs to be done through the regional, certifier within the United States. You can get teat tips, what they call Omni approved, but they still have to go through your local certifier. So we've got a process at GIA where our GIA dealer and route specialists work with our company to submit a product that they want to use to make sure it's approved by their organic agency so that they don't have any problems. But we do have organic options.
Very good to know. Thank you. I just want to remind people, again, the handouts are in the control panel. If you go down to the bottom, there should be a handouts tab, and that's where you can find those PDFs. You just click on the little arrow and point it downward, and then you should see those listed. So hopefully everyone can find those there. The next question we have is the OxyPower a concentrate? And if so, what is the mixing ratio?
OxyPower is a concentrate. It's a 1 to 9. So like if you buy 15 gallons of OxyPower, you would mix that with 9 parts water. So that 15 would make 150 gallons of teat dip. We've got some very simple blending systems that will blend it. And one thing that Mark and I definitely want to add is we don't just go to a farm and hook things up. We do consider the water quality. Softened water is preferred, and we like to take a water sample of your farm just to confirm that it's a good fit. And in the majority of cases, Mark, right? They are.
Yep.
Good. And the next question is wondering if GIA has any research, or I guess have worked with any universities to compare the teat tips discussed versus how effective they are against different mastitis pathogens. Maybe you can share some insight on that, Keith.
Yeah, GIA in our history, we do a lot of research internally and externally as far as university research. When you actually do like a university trial, it's actually a trial versus the dip and the reduction of IMIs versus not dipping at all. You know, there's been a lot of those done. Industry has definitely compared a lot of that to the in vitro testing, because a lot of it has to do with both the speed and the cost of getting things done, so the end product is good. So yeah, we have done that as well. A lot of the dips companies are coming out today are doing a lot of standardized in vitro to get things out there quicker, and then also make sure that it's been market tested.
I think we can all appreciate all the research that goes into the various products and technologies, trying to come up with the best solutions for dairy producers. A couple more questions here. This one, with so many chlorine dioxide teat dips options available, how do I pick the best one for my farm? Can you help us walk through that decision-making process? Mark?
Definitely. I think Mark and I can both chime on that one, right? Yep. You know, the thing is that when non-iodine teat dips first hit the market, I guess I'm getting old. I've been doing this for over 23 years. With iodine, everyone talks about what percent iodine's in there, you know, 1%, half. With non-iodine, it seems like a lot of times it's quickly not talked about. There are differences in chlorine dioxides, and it's not just about the ppm of chlorine dioxide. That's one factor. We got to consider the pH. That's the best performance level for it to perform, which we test when we do it. And we also got to look at the surfactants that we have in it as far as combining and synergizing that to make it work. Then when you get some products like the Velocity Plus Gold, Velocity Gold Barrier, Velocity Pre-Post, that have more than one germicide. I mean, we've actually got a triple germicide. So that's when it goes down to like where we started. A germicide alone doesn't make effective teat dip. It's the formula. Got to test it. You got to make sure it works on the farm, and you got to look at the whole thing. When Mark was talking before about when we make a new teat dip, we'll make anywhere from a few to 50 formulas. And we test them for efficacy at that point. And what we found, and as longer I do this, I'm just amazed on the science part of it. There's dips that were all equal ppm chlorine dioxide, and they all didn't pass the efficacy in the first round. I mean, it had to do with the formula and the formulation with it, pH, surfactants, everything. And I've seen cases where they change one thing and it's now an effective teat dip. Mark, you want to add any more to that?
Yeah, I would say some of it is personal preference too, and farm management style. Are you looking for a pre-dip only? Do you want to have one product you mix that's used for pre and post? Do you want something that's high visibility? Do you want a lot of emollient? Do you want very little emollient? How long do you want the product to be stable after it's mixed? How often do you want to mix? We have a range of products that are, one we didn't even mention today, that when mixed, there's no dye in it. It's good for about 12 hours of stability. But in that 12 hours, I mean, it is just one of the best cleaning chlorine dioxide pre-dips that I've encountered. It's very no frills. Some people don't want to have two different dip cups to have to worry about and two different products to mix. So from that side of it too, you have to decide kind of what your management stance is on your operation, and then we have one guaranteed in our portfolio that we can match to all of your needs from both a bacterial kill standpoint and from a management standpoint.
You bring up excellent points, because like on a pre-dip, we have to have cleanability. You know, if you dip a row of cows and it's all dried, by the time you get there and you can't clean it off with a towel, doesn't matter what it'll kill, we still have to clean the teat. I mean, with post dips, we know we got to consider, for example, your bedding type or how quickly cows lay down as far as organic material and all that. So that was a big thing when we were talking that image and talking about let's talk solutions. The best case I've experienced is when one of our team at GIA and our dealers come to your farm, see what you're dealing with, and prescribe the right teat tip.
So many factors that go into that decision. So thank you for setting up some criteria and things for farms to think about. The next question here, are there certain teat tips that can be used with automatic spray technology systems, or can any product be used with one of those types of systems?
Another great question. When we were dealing with the spray technologies, for example, when the Udder mister was being developed, our guideline was we actually took our T-coat 10-3, our thickest 1% iodine, 10% emollient, and that was our goal. It had to cover well with that. And with that, we've got a wide array because we've got a lot of T-tips with lower viscosity as far as that will spray well. When you get into like a very thick or film forming barrier T-tip, and generally we don't recommend spraying. On the walkover sprayer, it can also do a wide range of T-tips as well. In generally, we don't do barriers through walkovers, mainly because you as far as the coverage in there, a thicker dip, but it's also because we spray a lot more T-tip, so as part of it comes down to a cost benefit thing as well.
A somewhat related question, someone is asking, when it comes to the walkover sprayers on the post-dip side, what are your recommendations on location and waiting time to spray and apply if they're in the exit alley of the parlor?
Great questions today. Great audience. I'd like to thank everybody for joining. You know, pre-dip, it's a lot easier because pre-dip, we're gonna have a committal lane so that we've got 8 feet so the cow can commit so we can get the best coverage and right at the parlor entryway. Pre-dip's also easier because you know, we've got climates that are cold to out west where it's warm. You know, so there's less of consideration there because you have a warm environment by your cows. When you get to the post-dip side, there are considerations you have to make. Regardless whether it's a cold or a warm environment, we really got to watch the airflow. Good milk quality, we get good airflow. But if we've got a lot of fans and stuff like that, we want a location or even put sides so that we don't blow the spray over. The other thing too is we want good cow traffic. We need an area that has good cow traffic because they're excellent sensors and technology and algorithms within the program. But the best spray is always going to be when you have good cow traffic where the cows aren't stopping. So we generally put it at the exit lane far enough down so that we've got that good cow traffic, but also consider the environment and the situation the farm deals with when we have different weather types.
And thank you. Another technology question, what is your recommendation for cleaning or switching the brushes in the future cow system?
Either one of us can take that one. The one thing I'll say, and I'll let Mark chime in, with our brushes on the future cow, they are antimicrobial brushes and we have a chlorine dioxide solution going through them, but you do need to put them on a changing schedule. So changing them on time is important, but what's actually equally as important is that part of your procedure after you've you know, cleaned and dried a row of cows or on a rotary around a cows, that we spray the brushes out top and bottom. That's just to make sure that you know, especially when you have stickier beddings, that we have solution going through, but it's just generally to make sure we keep the whole environment clean. So when we do that, we can actually get 7,000 to 10,000 uses out on changing the brushes. So changing brushes on time is important, but so is keeping them in the unit clean. Mark, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would also add keeping under singed. Hair tends to wear those brushes down a lot faster. I know you've experienced it probably on new installs. That first set of brushes seems to go really quick, and that is predominantly from hair on the udders. I've also had places where they changed brushes too often because the newer brush is very stiff, and they changed them in the same time every day for every shift, and it was always the heifer group, and they couldn't figure out why their heifers were always kind of stepping around a little bit and every other group wasn't. Well, those cows always got the brand new brushes every single day. So there's not that big of a benefit to changing them more frequently than you need to.
Yeah, we actually also, for different environments, We've got 3 different types of brushes with different stiffness. We've got our standard one, we've got a mid-range when we get a lot more muddy or dry lot situations when we get out west with rainstorms and that. And then we've got a more extreme one. So we've got different choices to work with your herd.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that experience. It's so great to have your field experience and things you've seen on farms to be able to help answer these questions. So thank you. Mark, I'll send this question to you first. It says, if pH is a factor of strength for the chlorine dioxide products, why does the industry rely on parts per million as the measurement of strength instead of ORP? Is that a question? Have you tackled that?
I'm actually going to default to Keith on this one.
Okay.
Start from the science.
You know, when it comes down to it, we test products. You know, a manufacturer tests products, and when they do efficacy, and there should be standards for that, especially when you're dealing with concentrates. And so there definitely are more factors than just chlorine dioxide. Actually, I think one thing I know I see out there is a lot of people check for chlorine dioxide but don't do further testing. And if a product is made to be at a 3 pH, for example, with that, and to get those levels where they want, that's where it should be set. I mean, because that's where the efficacy testing was done. I mean, you could have, for example, 1,000 ppm chlorine dioxide and have the pH right off, and it's not where it was tested for efficacy at. So it's important to have the right, test it and to do the right test.
I think it kind of goes back to Keith's initial statement in this whole presentation about germicides alone don't make an effective teat dip. A lot of times it's a combination of things. So while you may only be testing the chlorine dioxide at a certain part per million, we're relying on something else that has a lower pH to boost the effectiveness of the chlorine dioxide to get the results that we got. So that's where that may come into play.
Good. The next question, if I were to switch to a concentrated teat dip, how do you adjust the killing power to account for on-farm changes such as dirtier cows?
Oh,
Go ahead.
So it would depend on the blending unit that you have. Some would be a fixed, we set an adjustment and it makes a certain dilution at either 800, 1,000, or 1,200 parts per million. Other more advanced digital that run off of flow meters would take probably somebody from the dealership level or from GEA to come out and reprogram. But would not be that overly complicated. Just depends on the blending unit that would be installed at your farm.
Yeah, we've got blending units that all the programs are preset in there, and whether it's a change in ppm or if it's a change in emollient. And we talked about non-iodine today. There's definitely savings with concentrates. We've also got a lot of farms that are on our T-Coat Plus, which is a 3-part concentrate that we can do the same thing. We can change the ppm iodine, we can change the emollient to fit there. But yeah, depending on the blending style, it'll either be a manual or digital change. But the nice thing about making that change is for all of us that have helped our dealers and farms do a changeover to a different teat dip. I mean, before, when it's all ready to use, you got to change all the barrels, rinse all the lines. I mean, it's quite an ordeal on making that change. It's got to be scheduled and it takes time. When you can change it on the system and all the same ingredients are there and you can change it, it's a lot more seamless,
Very good. And our final question says, if I want to install an automated teat dip technology for a Gia parlor, does it have to be a Gia parlor or can it be installed on another brand of parlor? So maybe how can these technologies be incorporated onto various parlors if they just want to do sort of a retrofit or make an addition?
We love working with all dairy farmers. I'd say that, right, Mark?
Yep. We do not exclude anybody.
We do not exclude anybody. So actually, we have customers about every make and model that we've put our teat dip and blending systems in, that we've put our udder misters in, that we've put walkovers in. So that's what's nice about being on the cow side of the business and not so much the iron is we get to work with everybody, right, Mark?
Yep. All different color paints.
So,
Yep,
well,
just gotta work with your Gia dealer. So,
Yep.
well, appreciate you offering that insight. I know both of you have years of experience working in the field, so really thankful that you're able to share your knowledge that comes from just working with producers day in and day out, and then also working for a company like Gia Technologies. So thank you for that. Also want to thank our audience for participating today. We really are thankful for your time and attention that you spent with us. And we're really happy that you participated so actively in both the polls and then asking these insightful questions. So once again, thank you for being a part of our webinar, and thank you to Mark and Keith for their presentation today. As you leave the webinar, a short survey will pop up, and we would really appreciate it if you would provide feedback. It would just take a moment to fill out. We hope you enjoyed the webinar titled Smart Solutions for Udder Health, and this was brought to you today by Gia Farm Technologies.